The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons. On today's show we'll be talking about Medicare, and every time a year about now we talk about open enrollment. That is starting October 15th through December 7th. And what that means is you have the opportunity to evaluate your Medicare plans and different options and see how that is best meeting your needs. And if it isn't, we've got people to help you figure it out, so stay tuned.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare Summary Notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Receiving help for Ella has been life-changing, and the best word for it is relief. I was the therapist, I was the aide, and I couldn't be the mom because emotionally you're just to your wits' end, you're trying to survive.
I provide care for the Harrises, specifically their daughter Ella. Respite care is extremely challenging, but the rewards that you receive from it are 100 times more than working with a child that doesn't have special needs. Once they get something, it's everything. It's a you celebrate. You don't just enjoy those moments. You celebrate every moment that you get, that you guided them to that next step.
Respite. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. Will you provide it? Call 800-224-6034 or visit respite.mt.gov.
It went from survival to enjoying life and being able to be a mom again.
Brought to you by the Montana Broadcasters and this station.
Welcome to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and the show is brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services, Senior and Long-Term Care Division. You know, we mentioned we'll be talking about Medicare, particularly open enrollment, so we have an expert here. We have Kimmy Everman. You're the Media and Outreach Specialist. Welcome to your show.
Thanks, Brian.
I love saying that.
I know you do. Always good to face off with you.
Yes. Well, you know, in the open, I was saying that this is happens once a year. It's open enrollment. And, you know, there are a lot of people coming on to Medicare that are new, and they might not know what open enrollment means. Can you define that for us?
Sure thing. Because, you know, as you discussed, open enrollment starts next week. And we have, about 6-8 weeks till December 7th to make some choices about Medicare. For some people, they may just be coming on to Medicare. Maybe they've just turned 65, stopped working, don't have coverage. For whatever reason, they may just be coming on. Or this might be a time when someone who's been on Medicare a while is reevaluating those plans that you were talking about, those services. So open enrollment every year, very, very important time. And I do want to stress that that doesn't mean you must change any service. It's simply a time for you to be able to review what services you're receiving, what they cost. You know, do you feel like you're getting good bedside manner from the folks that you work with? Just that sort of thing. And if you like it and it's covering your needs, yay, you don't have to do a thing. But if you're thinking, I might be able to get a little bit better on this or that, this is the time to do it. So it's review time.
Yeah. And you know, you go throughout the year and different health issues might pop up, might go away, possible, but that changes what your needs are for your Medicare plan.
Absolutely.
So tell us more about that.
Well, I first want to say that it only changes it to the extent that in the future you may need a new type of medication or maybe some physical therapy, whatever changes. But important for folks to remember that they are covered for all services under Medicare in all the Medicare plans that we have available, whether they're standalone, whether they're a Medicare Advantage plan. So you're always covered. You would always have the ability to get medication, say if you have a different illness that you didn't have when you signed up before. That doesn't mean you're out in the cold. It just means that, you know, when you do have that chance to review, that's the stuff you're going to look at, is that new piece of your health care. And like you said, hopefully it's resolved itself. But if it hasn't, you have a chance to take a look and decide, you know, maybe it's a medication that is less expensive on a different medication plan. Well, who doesn't want less expensive? And so that's the sort of thing you're looking at.
Yeah. Well, now by now they should have received their Medicare and You booklet for the new enrollment period. And that's really important, and it's easy to read. Why is it important to go over that before you make some decisions?
Well, you pointed out several other things. For one, it's really easy to read and not... there's just not a lot of complicated jargon. There's not a lot of complicated issues they try to explain. It's all very general because what we know is that you've seen one Medicare beneficiary and you've seen one Medicare beneficiary. We all have our individual needs. And, you know, another thing I want to stress is that Medicare is not interested in stamping you into a little box. They want to make sure that they're meeting your needs as an individual. And so I think you really want to always be thinking about, well, in the future, if I'm taking this new med or I'm doing this new kind of a treatment, what other choices do I have than what I have? And, you know, as I was saying a little bit ago, you might have the best choice already. You might be signed up for the best choice already, but if not, always important to take a look and see.
Take a look at it. And, you know, as we look through that book and we see our changing maybe medical or health needs, it's important to know that, you know, you might feel a little uncomfortable or uncertain as to the decisions you need to make, but we've got some help for you. We've got an 800 number. They're called State Health Insurance and Assistance Program people, SHIP people refer them to. Why are they so important?
Well, for one thing, they're completely objective. They don't have anything to sell you. They aren't hired by any insurance companies. They're hired by whatever entity provides services to their county. And they can give that person a full view and compare it to some other plans so that they can see what another plan might look like. And they're confidential. Nothing that you say to them goes anywhere unless you give them permission. They're not going to give you the answer, but they are certainly going to help you understand the options and how to make the decision that's the best for you. And, you know, I think last but certainly not least, they're local. For the most part, there might be somebody that's your neighbor. And so you can feel like, okay, I've got somebody here who I know that I feel comfortable with, that I can talk about this with.
That you can trust. And, you know, we're going to continue our discussion about, you know, the Medicare open enrollment period, which is next week, October 15th through December 7th. And we'll be discussing the different options that you have, the different resources that you have. And the SHIP people are really important because they don't make the decision for you. They give you the information that best meets your needs. You're the one that decides. But you're welcome to have a spouse, maybe a child or an attorney or someone else that you could assist you with that decision, working with you. So we got a lot more information. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting. But it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
Sergeant Jones. Please respond. I was separated from my squad. Requesting backup. Anyone? Please respond. I'm all alone here.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're continuing our discussion about Medicare. There's a special open enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th. That starts next week. There are different decisions that you can make, but you don't have to make any decisions either if you're happy with the plan that you have. With us is Kimmy Everman. You're with Media and Outreach Specialist with Department of Public Health and Human Services. Now, we've been talking about options in Medicare, but people might be thinking, isn't Medicare just one program? Are there options inside it?
Yeah, there really are, Brian. That's a great question. People have heard us who have tuned into our Medicare shows before know we talk about Part A, B, C, and D. Mm-hmm. And just to quickly clarify, Part A of Medicare is your major medical, your hospitalization, that sort of thing. Part B is your outpatient sorts of services. Part C, we're going to skip for a minute, go straight to Part D, which is your drug coverage or your drug coverage benefit, and then back to Part C, which is a combo of A, B, and D. So you can either get the traditional model, we call it, which is the Part A, Part B, and Part D. And you can go to whatever doc you wish or provider that accepts Medicare. And then you are going to get a standalone drug plan. Yeah. And most of all of the pharmacies take almost all of the. Yeah. I mean, it's changed so much since the very beginning of drug plans, where you weren't sure who took what, but now they really do. Yeah. Then the second type or option in Medicare is a Medicare health plan or a Medicare Advantage plan.
Part C.
Right, Part C. And what the Part C is, it's a coverage of your A, so your hospitalization, B, your outpatient, and D, for the most part anyway, D, your drug coverage. There's a few Medicare Advantage plans that don't have drug coverage, and you want to make sure that you know if you're buying an Advantage plan what you're getting, but not too many are in that category. And the Medicare Advantage, it's still Medicare, you're still a Medicare beneficiary, but you get all of your services through a private entity. And you also might get some extra services. That's why they call it the Medicare Advantage, because it's a little bit extra here and there. Also, there's another option that you can do if you do the original Medicare, so you have A and B and D. And then you can buy what's called a supplement. And that's really a time-trusted way to do things, because we've had these supplements for a very long time. But they pick up that 20%. You know, Medicare, we haven't mentioned it yet, but Medicare is an 80-20 split. 80% of the bill paid by Medicare and 20% by the beneficiary. And when you buy a supplemental insurance, you can get one that helps pick up that 20%.
Okay. And now, how does this paid? I know that to generalize, Medicare comes out of your Social Security. Now, if you get a Part C, which is a private sector plan, how is that paid? And if you missed a payment, I imagine you're out.
Well, you know, what you want to do is talk to, let's say that you're going to sign up for Company B. Call and talk to Company B and make sure that you know what their rules are. For the most part, almost everybody can have a automatic withdrawal from their account for these things, and it is the best way to do it for most folks. Just then you don't forget, and then you aren't in that position wondering if you're covered. And I guess I want to say, all the way to the very end of that spectrum, if you found yourself in that position, you would want to call a SHIP counselor to Suite and ask them to give you a hand in figuring out whatever didn't sort of go the way it should have. And they can do that for you, and they can advocate for you. If it was this is a good example. Let's say it was a mistake and you were in the hospital maybe, and you should have made that payment, and you were in the hospital and you couldn't.
Good excuse.
And I've heard of it happening before. And so SHIP counselor can help advocate for you with that company, so that you don't lose your coverage, so that you're not sort of high and dry. And just in general, the SHIP counselors can help with so much regarding Medicare and health care and how everything fits together.
And I think it's important to note that we're talking about how they can assist you in choosing a plan, but down the road, if you have any issues at all, they're a great resource to help you out between you and the provider, right?
Absolutely. You know, we want folks to use that opportunity to have a relationship with whoever they're talking to at that company. But if they find themselves not getting anywhere, gosh, the SHIP counselor is a great advocate.
You know, exactly. They're an advocate out there that are there to help you out, to make sure help you get the right plan that you of your choosing with your constraints, your health constraints, financial constraints, and with your needs. And if there's a problem down the road, they'll help you out with that.
That's exactly right.
And it's important to note that they're in basically every town, right?
And if they're not, there's somebody assigned to every county, so that there could be someone you can speak with that's local to you.
And they'll help you out. Now we'll talk about some supplemental programs that might be able to help you pay for some of the premiums, so stay tuned.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800-551-3191.
Is that Robert Knievel? Captain Lewis, Captain Clark, I'm officially Evel Knievel now. I'm getting my Montana Real ID.
Did you make an appointment at mtrealid.gov?
Yes, sir.
Smile.
I brought my non-laminated Social Security card, 2 documents proving my current residential address, and my certified birth certificate.
Approved.
Go to mtrealid.gov.
Now I can fly. It's that easy.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host Brian Lamore. In the last segment I mentioned that we'd be talking about some helping programs or supplemental programs. These programs can help you pay some of your premiums for Medicare and the various choices you have there. And you might not be too sure which ones they are or anything, but we've got SHIP counselors to help you. And right here we have Kimmy Everman. Well, Kimmy, tell us more about these helping programs. How do they help?
Well, and Brian, they're so important to this equation. For one thing, we don't want anyone in Montana going without pills, medication, without heat, without food, because they're struggling to pay for their health care. And we really hope that we can, help them avoid some of the real trauma that comes with that kind of situation in your life. So we've got some very specific programs to help with Medicare. And the first one is called the MSP, or the Medicare Savings Program. And that is specifically to help pay the monthly premium for Part B. And if you remember, I said Part B was your outpatient services, and there's certainly a monthly premium to that, and it's too early yet. We won't know what that cost will be for 2023 for a little while yet, but it's there, and so there's a program that will help pay for that, and then that person, let's say it's $150. That's another $150 in their checking account that can be used to pay for their heat, to buy a birthday card, to whatever it is that they want to do. So very, very important program. And also the MSP, or the Medicare Savings Program, has got levels. So, and what I mean by levels is that, you can get more or less assistance based on your economic position. Then we also have LIS, or low income subsidy. Sometimes we refer to that as extra help, and that's specifically for Medicare Part D, and the D is the drug coverage. And so what that program does is help pay for a monthly premium up to a certain standard, and that will be announced here soon. And then also can help pay some of the monthly fees as well. And again, there's levels in that. So if you aren't eligible for the full benefit, you might be eligible for 75%. So it's worth checking it out. Then we have the Big Sky RX, and that's a very, very favorite program of mine, homegrown, and helps take the burden of a monthly premium off of a Medicare beneficiary. And they will pay that monthly premium up to, again, a certain a bar that they'll choose here shortly. And then that person doesn't have to pay that monthly fee. Also, one of the things we love about Big Sky RX is that it's for folks that maybe make a little bit more. They don't, your income isn't as important, your assets are not counted. So there's a lot of good parts to Big Sky RX. And then finally we have Medicaid, which is, and some Medicare beneficiaries are Medicare, Medicaid. They might be referred to as a dual eligible. And that's just when they're covered by both. And that has everything to do with their economic situation, their medical situation, etc. But for any of these 4 programs, you could, I will put the number on the screen. You can call a SHIP counselor and they can sort of talk you through what you have to do or what kind of assistance you might need in filling out the paperwork.
I know it's important that having worked with DPHHS is that people might go in on a computer and say, oh, I don't qualify for this program, or it's too confusing, so I'm not going to bother. But what's important is that they all have different qualifications. And by talking to a SHIP counselor, they know that, and they can, make you eligible for all of them, or none of them as applicable, but they can help you. You may think it's not, you're not eligible.
And I always like to stress with citizens that, there's no reason except for about 10 minutes of your life to not fill out an application and just to see if you are eligible for any of these. And, if nothing else, you've forged a great relationship with your local SHIP counselor, and they are there to help you with other things. And perhaps you aren't eligible for any of the helping programs for Medicare, but perhaps there's something else that SHIP counselor sort of goes, oh, I bet you that might work for this person.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And then they can sort of hook that person up to whatever resource that is. So they are a great resource all the way around.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that the SHIP counselors are part of our area agencies on aging throughout the state of Montana. And we're talking about Medicare, but they also understand other programs that the area agency provides. And we're talking about supplemental or helping programs. There's other programs that they could help with. What are some of those programs that might be a godsend to a senior?
Well, food always, and perhaps it's the SNAP program. Perhaps LEAP for energy.
Pay your energy
there's just so many things. And then on a community by community basis, there might be something that you need that's only offered in your community. It's worth that call to check it out.
Worth the call. And Kimmy, thank you so much for coming in and doing the show with us. Your wealth of information is a pleasure to always talk with you. And for our viewers, the SHIP counselor is a part of the Area Agency on Aging, and there are a number of programs that are available for seniors that we haven't had the time to discuss here. By calling that 800 number, you can access those too. For Aging Horizons, I'm Brian Lamore. Thank you for joining us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.